Are you looking to take your personal finances to the next level? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not, with your host, Joseph Sangle.
Well, welcome to the Monday Money Tip Podcast, provided by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not. My name is Joseph Sangle, and I am fired up to be joined by my co-host, Megan Hibbard. Are you fired up to be here today?
I'm fired up.
Tell everybody what episode number this is.
This is episode number 80, if you can believe it.
Episode number 80.
Yes.
That's awesome. Of a weekly podcast. That's pretty good.
Yes.
And we're super excited about the topic that we're going to talk about today. Tell everybody what we're going to talk about in this episode.
Okay, our featured question for today is, I need help. I get all fired up about making changes to my finances, and I usually get off to a great start. But then something happens, and it feels like we lose all of our progress we've made. How can I get out of this up and down cycle?
Man, let me tell you something.
This is a lot of people.
This is a lot of people. So this is going to be a great episode. You want to listen to this on how to stay consistent. How do you make sure that you don't lose financial progress that you've made? If you've ever been climbing in your financial journey and then got knocked off, that's why we call it the ladder, the I Was Broke, Now I'm Not ladder, because a lot of people get knocked off. They start climbing, get knocked off, start climbing, get knocked off. And we tried to put the rungs in order so people can really climb to financial success. And so I can't wait to talk about that. But first, we have that favorite moment of the podcast. And we know what section that is. No, she's staring at me and saying no. We have to talk about the featured resource. I was joking you out.
We've added a new
episode.
section.
What is that?
and it's throwing him off.
That's great.
Okay.
Make fun of us.
Okay. So our featured resource for today is your brand new book.
Yes.
All right. So it's 2020 Money, Gaining Clarity for Your Financial Future. Start out 2020 right by having 2020 vision for your life and money. And you can learn more by visiting iwbnin.com/2020 and receive a special offer.
Yes. And now it is that favorite moment of the podcast. You know what that is. Let's go.
Now it's time to get caught up with our current money events.
All right. This portion of the podcast is sponsored by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not. Take your finances to the next level by utilizing our financial tools and calculators. Visit iwbnin.com and click on Tools. Budgeting templates, debt freedom date calculators, retirement calculators, investing calculators, they're all right there at your fingertips, and they're all free.
Yes. And we really do encourage you to check out those tools. We have more than 100 free tools there. Fired up about that. But today's current money event section is about a frightening topic. Dun, dun, dun. The United States national debt.
I was going to say we needed sound effects, but
man,
you just went ahead and did
let
it
me tell you right now, the United States government is not going to be calling Dave Ramsey's show shouting they're debt free today. This is not a good or happy story. It is a boo-hoo story. My source for this data is usdebtclock.org. It's a great website to see how much debt your nation is in. And right now, as of the date that we're recording this podcast, the national debt sits at a cool 23.1 trillion with a T as in Tom and terrible, T-R-B-L, terrible debt. $23.1 trillion of debt. Good grief. That's $69,989 per citizen. Can you believe that?
That's a lot.
Now watch
of money.
that. That's per citizen. That's not per taxpayer, because not all citizens pay taxes. Like my kids do not pay taxes. Does Logan pay taxes? He's 1 year old.
He's almost one.
He's headed towards one. She's going to start crying. I'm sorry.
Gosh.
And so here's what I know. It's $187,173 per taxpayer. So listen, you're listening to this podcast. If you're a taxpayer, you owe $187,173. Woo! That ought to get somebody fired up right there. You know, when I last provided an update, it was August 26th, 2019, and we were at 22.5 trillion. That was $68,355 a citizen. So we have increased the debt per citizen by $1,634. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
It is up. The debt is up $600 billion since our update in August last year, and it's up a cool trillion since our update in March last year. I call on our nation's leaders right now, once again, to have a balanced budget that we follow. I remind everyone of the fact that indeed the borrower is servant to the lender. It has been said that we are spending money like drunken sailors, but that would actually be an insult to drunken sailors. I encourage you to write your representatives. You need to write your representatives, every one of you. As I have done while preparing this podcast, here is my letter. We will share it in the show notes so you can send it to yours. I wrote it to the South Carolina Honorable Senator Tim Scott and Lindsey Graham, and to our House of Representatives, Congressman the Honorable Jeff Duncan. I wrote to each of them, I am increasingly concerned over the continued rejection of balanced budgets and refusal of both parties to address our national debt in any meaningful and substantial way. I have tracked our national debt on a continual basis since 2002. I remember seeing the national debt clock in New York City in 2006 when our debt stood at $6.5 trillion. It has since tripled. I'm attempting to comprehend the laws surrounding our spending and budgeting. Are there any effective means that will help prevent this from continuing into the future? I've spent the last 15 years teaching personal financial responsibility, budgeting, saving, debt management, and investing. I've traveled all over America providing this education, and at the core of this teaching is a fundamental equation. Income minus outgo equals exactly zero. It is the basic truth of economics for every family. A family could never thrive by continually allowing their regular spending to outpace their income. How will it be possible for America? Can you help me understand the tangible actions you have undertaken to address this issue? Also, what can I do to help? Respectfully, Joseph Sengel, founder of I Was Broke, Now I'm Not. That's a letter I sent. What do you think of that?
That's an intense letter.
Come on.
Yeah.
Fired up about it. I'm tired of
I
our
can
national
tell.
debt. Somebody give me a good shout and a hand clap if you fired up about debt and sick of it. You know, I want to see our nation free of debt. The borrower is servant to the lender, and I don't want our nation, our kids, our grandkids to pay up. I'd rather pay up right now with my generation. Let's make the hard decisions. Let's unite the parties together. And let's see everybody be able to help this nation prosper. That's it for today's current money events section.
Very, very fired up section. Okay, so for our featured question for today, just to remind you guys, it says, I need help. I get all fired up about making changes to my finances, and I usually get off to a great start. But then something happens, and I feel like we lose all the progress we've made. How can I get out of this up and down cycle?
That's an awesome question. I love it. And I like how they say it's an up and down. It's an up and down cycle. Think about the up and down of that. We talk about the ladder going up and down. You know, you get up to you're killing debt, you're on rung 4, and then you go back down. It's just awful. And so I really want to help every single person really win with their money. And with this episode, it's still early in the year. I want to talk about that. And so let's talk about 3 steps you could take. And the first one, and we titled this episode, The Power of Coaching. So I'm getting to coaching, okay? This is the build up to it. Number 1, order your steps. If you don't follow the correct path, it can be absolutely impossible to make the progress you're looking for in your finances. It's absolutely impossible. That's why we developed the I Was Broke, Now I'm Not ladder, is to provide a proven roadmap that anyone in America can follow to win with their money. You know what? Let's include Mexico and Canada in it, right? Everybody can apply the I Was Broke, Now I'm Not ladder and win with their money. What are those steps? And we're going to include this, a link again, iwasbrokenowimnot.com/ladder. I'm going to just share those steps again. Rung 1, write down your plans, hopes, and dreams. Rung 2, save a month's worth of money in savings, a month's worth of expenses in savings. Rung number 3, invest enough to capture the full company match or $100 a month, whichever is greater. Rung number 4, pay off all of your debt except for your house. Get fired up. It's a great moment. Mm-hmm. Use that money that you freed up that was going to debt to build your savings in rung 5 to a minimum of 3 months worth of expenses. Once that's achieved, go to rung 6 and invest 15% of your money into tax advantage investments. Keep that going and use any extra money to go to rung 7, which is to pay off your house and business debt. And then when you're done with that, go to rung 8 and invest 30% or more of your gross income into tax advantage investments and move on up to rung number 9 and live a great life. That is a proven roadmap. It is steps, and they are ordered. And if you want to stop doing the yo-yo effect, that's what the person, the podcast listener, if you want to stop the yo-yo effect, the up and down effect, man, follow the ladder. The ladder will help you order your steps. What would you say to that?
We also did an entire episode on the ladder, which is super helpful
Yeah,
because it
that's right.
breaks down all of the steps. So I'll make sure I include a link in the show notes for that if you guys want to listen more about all those steps.
That's awesome. And that's a great reminder. Absolutely. We did a whole episode on the ladder. Order your steps. The second thing is to develop discipline. Discipline. Say it with me. You're in the car, you're exercising, whatever, it's discipline. Discipline. You must be disciplined. There's no microwave approach, and it requires persistent focus to win with money over time. Listen, you got to develop discipline. It's called self-control, and it's necessary to achieve anything great. Think about it. It's necessary to have self-control when raising children, when they drive you crazy. Right now, Logan does not drive you crazy. He's one. Does he drive you crazy? Of course he
No.
doesn't. He's cute, and he's so smiley and happy all the time.
He's so sweet.
Yeah, he's so sweet. He's awesome.
He is
but
awesome.
there'll be a day when he's like 7 and he's ornery. He's in an ornery mood, and he might drive you crazy. He might. He just might. I know
I'm
it's hard to
sure.
believe because my sweet 9-year-old, when he was little, he didn't drive me crazy. There are moments he drives me crazy. Like last night when he had an ice cream bowl, a bowl of ice cream in the car, unbeknownst to me in the dark, and he set
gosh.
it in the console. Just set it there. He just set it there. And guess what? When I went around a corner, it slid and fell on my foot on the gas pedal with a soup of ice cream on me and a spoon. It was awesome.
no.
It's a great thing. But you got to create discipline because, when you're raising kids, discipline. Personal fitness, discipline. Financial fitness, discipline. Time management, discipline. Investing, budgeting, career, relationships. Do you get the point? Discipline. Say the word with me. Discipline. What would you say about that?
Yeah, and I would say it also takes discipline to follow the ladder. So we talked about the ladder in the previous step, but it definitely takes discipline to follow that because a lot of people want to jump to the rung about debt and just say, "Well, I want to get rid of the debt. I want to get rid of the debt." But that's not why we've ordered
That's a
them
good
that way.
word.
So they're ordered that way for a specific reason to help you guys because it's been a trusted, proven method that has worked.
And the question we're answering for this
Yeah.
podcast is how do you stop the yo-yo effect of making progress
Right.
only to fall down?
Yeah. And so following those steps takes discipline because you can't just jump to the one that you want to accomplish. You have to go through the hard work of doing the steps that aren't necessarily so fun. So
Yeah.
making sure you're having discipline in that step too, moving on to the develop discipline for step number 2, it requires self-control for all areas of your life. But
So how do you order your steps and develop discipline? Those are the two big things that yield what we say it eliminates the yo-yo effect. And what can really help you with that? Well, it's number 3, hire coaches. You have to hire coaches. Man, I'm telling you, coaches help with both the first thing, order your steps, and the second thing, developing discipline. They help you do both. The Bible says in Proverbs 15:22 that plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. Did you hear what that said? It says plans fail for lack of counsel. In other words, plans fail for lack of coaching. You need coaching. Plans fail for lack of counsel. And then it says, but with many advisors, they succeed. Isn't that incredible?
yeah.
Yeah. So speak to that, the power of coaching.
I mean, I think one of the big reasons that we have coaches is because they've been through something that we necessarily haven't been through. So they're further along in their financial journey. They're further along in their parenting journey. They're further along in their workout journey if you hire a fitness coach. You have those people because they've gone through things. They're able to walk you through the steps because they've been there. And so I think that that's really important if a coach can take you a lot farther. So you can go farther with a coach because they've been there. They know.
Yeah.
They're able to talk to you, talk through things with you, and mainly because they've worked it.
That's it.
They've done the financial journey. They've done the fitness. They've
Coaches
done
are
the
hired because they
parenting.
know
Yeah.
what they're talking about.
Right.
And how do they know? They've experienced it. They lived it. They've done it. They've proven they can do it.
Yeah.
And so Proverbs 4:7 says the beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom. Where do you get wisdom from? Coaches, from teachers. And it says, though it cost all you have, get understanding. In other words, you need to be willing to spend money to get wisdom. When you spend money on a book from us or from Dave Ramsey or from Mary Hunt or David Bach or Robert Kiyosaki or any of those folks that have provided great wisdom in that area of personal finances, that cost you money. You're investing in wisdom. When you spend money to go to a conference, you're investing in wisdom. You're getting coaching. And that's so important. Be willing to invest in you. It's one of the greatest things ever. And having a coach, it's the power of coaching. Speak some more to that.
Yeah. I think that you are really hitting the nail on the head. I mean, it costs money. So whether you're buying that book or you're going to that conference, I mean, a lot of times the idea is you leave the conference or you finish the book and you think, wow, I've got so much out of that, or, I learned this at that conference, I learned that at that conference. I mean, the idea isn't you walk away and you're like, well, I didn't really get anything out of that. You obviously want to be watching, going to conferences or reading books, something like that, someone that you trust, someone that is farther along in the journey, and can really help you with that. And so that when you walk away, you're able to say, I got this nugget, or I got this piece of wisdom.
Yeah.
I can go apply this today.
Yeah.
And I can take this step.
Hey, and I will just say this, coaches, one of the greatest things they do, I read this today, in a blog by a member of our team. He was talking about interview with Tom Crean, who's currently the Georgia Bulldogs basketball coach. He was at Indiana University. Prior to that was somewhere else. But one of the things he said is that during the game, his job is not to teach. His job is to remind. Because the teaching happens before you get on the field. When you're on the field, you're just reminding them of what you've taught them. And I think a lot of times people go to a conference, they read a book, and they're like, well, I already knew that. I've already heard all that. And then you look at their life, and they're not doing it. Well, why aren't they doing it? Because they haven't been reminded often enough. And the book is a reminder. They missed the whole lesson. That one of the great things when I go to conferences is I'm looking for that one nugget that's hugely helpful, that's new, that exposes me to something new. But I'm also there to be reminded. Yeah. I'm there to make sure that I don't forget what's important, that I keep making sure that that stuff that I need to keep top of mind is there. Coaches help you do it. And so I encourage you, who could be a coach in your life? Think about this, podcast listeners. Who could be a coach in your life? Who do you know who's won with money? Like, for real. Like, you want to know that the person coaching you has won with money. By the way, your investment advisor may or may not be winning with money. Turns out that's not a question on the test. It's like, can they talk to you intelligently about different investments or insurance policies? It doesn't say, are you winning with your money? So make sure you ask them and look them straight in the eye. Are you winning with money? Tell me how you're winning with money. That's a really good question. If they avert their gaze and look to the left or the right, or look down, or start rubbing their nose, or all these tells that they're not telling the truth, you're fired and leave, right? The deal is hiring coaches could be as simple as meeting with people for lunch on a regular basis, or it might require substantial dollars. Either way, if it costs you money to have money coaches and they helped you get where you wanted to go, would it be worth it?
Yeah.
I mean, I just said you got to where you wanted to go. It would be worth it. And so I strongly encourage each of you, as we're still in the infancy of a wonderful new year of 2020, and we're getting clear vision, 2020 money vision, get a coach. Make sure you get coaches in your life. Hey, podcast listeners, Megan is one of your money coaches. She's at a distance. She's a money coach. I am one of your money coaches. You can make the determination of whether or not it's good coaching, right?
I hope so.
We hope it is. Our books can be a method of coaching. Dave Ramsey is coaching at a distance from his radio show, from his books, his materials, his classes. When you go and have conversations with the 401k administrator at your workplace, that's a coach. But do you have that person you can meet with on a consistent basis that can help hold you accountable to the goals you said you have? They're not making the goals for you. You're setting your goals for your life. And then they're helping you have financial decisions to support those. I will tell you, it's the power of coaching. I would not be where I am today without people pouring into my life and helping me, number one, understand the steps, to order the steps, but also developing the discipline. How is the discipline developed? Through accountability. Regular accountability helped me build discipline. And I encourage every single one of you, get coaches. I encourage you, it says in Proverbs 15:22, the old King James Version says, in the abundance of counsel, but it says, but with many advisors, the NIV, with many advisors, that's more than two. I wouldn't say two is many. 3 starts to be many. So have at least 3 coaches. One could be an investment coach. One could be a coach for your life goals. One could be a coach for parenting. Whatever it might be that is you're most passionate about in your life right now and where you're headed in your life, get coaching. You will not regret it. Anything you would add to that as last words?
No, I think that's great. I think let us know what you guys where you find your coaches, how you determine, maybe you have some questions that you're asking people before you're, just diving into asking them to be your coach. So maybe let us know what you guys are thinking about that, how you're finding your coaches. Ways.
I know in my book, Oxen, I actually include a list of the qualifications I have for my coaches.
Yeah.
So that could be helpful. Maybe we could pull out and make it a checklist and include it in the show notes. So that's it. Get coaches. It'll help you have discipline, help you follow those steps that you've ordered in front of you, and you'll discover the power of coaching. I think it'll help you have the best year yet. As we preview next episode, we're going to talk about the number one reasons why budgets don't work for people. And we're going to show you some practical tips and hacks. Don't you like hacks? That will help you take your budget to the next level. And when I learned about one of these hacks, it literally transformed my money that very minute. And I can't wait to share these lessons that I've learned and help you implement them in your own life and budget.
And if you like today's episode, please help us get this to others who could benefit. So you can do this by quickly rating our podcast and leaving us reviews. And these ratings and reviews will help make our podcast better for other listeners. And don't forget, on the last Monday of the month, we're going to be answering your top money questions. So make sure you send those in, email, social networks, all that kind of stuff. And we want to hear your success stories as well. So send those in.
That's it. And as we close this out, I would say many of us are intimidated to ask someone who's winning with their money, who's several steps ahead of us, maybe somebody that's almost like a hero for us to coach us. Because we're like, who am I? I'm undeserving. I'm unqualified. Let me tell you, somebody who's been blessed loves nothing more than to be able to testify to the blessing in their life and share with someone else the different decisions that they couldn't even believe that they made, but that helped them get there. They love to tell the story to a willing listener, especially someone who takes that wisdom and applies it in their own life. So be brave today. If you're driving down the road on a Monday, listen to this podcast. I encourage you, be brave and go ask that one person you're thinking about to become your coach. You'll be so glad you did.
And chances are they probably had somebody along the way helping them.
That's right.
Why they might want to give it forward as well. So why not ask them?
And get fired up. You can win with your money, and we're glad to be a part of your journey. Have a great day.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe. And for more great content and to stay up to date, visit iwbnin.com. We'll catch you next time.